And welcome everybody to the Saint Seiya Cosmocast. I'm your host Ramses, and for usual, I have here the fabulous and a very talented Jackie,
Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing well.
and I got here our walking encyclopedia of Saint Seiya knowledge, the one, the only, the Banghouse.
Hey, everybody.
So, just to let everybody know, we're doing this recording on October 21st, 2022. Reason why I'm saying this is because this episode might be when you get to this episode, it's gonna be a week later. And that's because, well, our friend here, Benkas, he's gonna be out of the country for a couple of weeks. So we figured we get the episode out before we do the episode like how we did before the last time, where we did record an episode, but we gave ourselves a couple extra weeks to get to do what we need to do. In this case, the last time it was because of the concert. This time it's for Benkas' sake. Now, why do I say this? It's because when we get started with when we get started with when this show goes up, when the show goes up on the on when the show goes up on when the show
Webpage?
no when the show goes up on the webpage. Thank you. I was distracted by something else. When this show goes up on the feeds, you're gonna realize that those whatever news we discussed, whatever new things popped up or anything like that, all that stuff is not gonna be it's not gonna be relevant to. It's not gonna be. It might be either outdated or even worse. It might be some something new might have popped up. So just bear that in mind during this recording. Alrighty then, guys. With that said, guys, why don't we get started with the news? Where do you guys want to start first? You want to start off news with concert news? You guys want to start off with or you want to start off with music news? Well, actually, it's a pretty music heavy it's a pretty music heavy episode, to be honest, because we do have some things we need to discuss with we do need to discuss a few things that popped up here. And that is the fact that the first thing we learned was we're getting a Saint Seiya concert in Brazil. I believe it's going to be happen in March of 2024, and I think it's going to be in three locations in Brazil. It's going to be in São Paulo, Brazil. Well, this tells you how prepared I am. I should have these dates right here. I am so sorry. It's good. It's gonna be in the first one's gonna be on March 16th in São Paulo, March 31st, 21st at Porto Alegre, and at March 23rd in Gurbianda. So so yeah, I mean this is really big news concerning we just had our concert we just had the concert in Mexico the other not too long ago. And we know for a fact France and Brazil already got. We already know France already got theirs, and we got ours here in Mexico as well. So it's interesting that we're talking about we're talking about now Brazil getting their own. So why don't we get started with Mechas? Mechas, why don't you give your thoughts on this news?
I was really excited to see that, because Brazil, it's undoubtedly one of the biggest markets when it comes to Saint Seiya. It is definitely the second biggest, or even the biggest, maybe in Latin America in general. And they've always been Brazil has always been Saint Seiya heavy when it comes to having big shots coming and giving news about projects that are coming out for the series and stuff like that. So it has actually been kind of surprising that they didn't have done anything like this prior to what happened here in Mexico. But it is, regardless of whether it came first or afterwards, the fact that they're getting one of their own, and not just one concert, three on the same week, and also in different cities in the same country. That's always great to hear. I don't remember who the name of the organizer is, but it's good to see that they're finally getting their stuff together so they can bring that experience to that market. And it also be something that people from other parts of Latin America, maybe people that did not have the possibility to travel to Mexico, because in the end, Brazil, it's much closer to a lot of countries in South America and even some in Central America than Mexico is. So that is also like a good opportunity for other people from abroad to go there as well if they have the opportunity. So it's fantastic that they're doing this as well. And as far as I'm concerned, the more the series gets worldwide, the better in general.
Jackie, do you have any thoughts on this bit of news?
Well, first, and also congratulations, Brazil. I was wondering about that too. They have gotten a symphonic, and now I know this is the first time. So, wow, that's gonna. It's almost like a mini tour, if you will, because it's like 3 cities, one year after the other, more or less. So, that's if you know. I can imagine there will be fans that's going to hop to all three concerts. And from what I remember reading on the website Caballero Zodíaco Brazil, that they are going to have special guests. So, may not be necessarily related, but probably if one reason, there will not be Mexico having a Cons Pegasus bench, I can see why they're doing 3 in Brazil. On top of that, both Yumi Matsuzawa and Nobu, they have some other commitments too. So I can imagine that's a pretty busy schedule. In
Yeah,
fact, last 2 weeks or so, Yumi Matsuzawa has been in Brazil as well. Because she didn't go back to Japan after the concert. I believe she was in Ecuador. So she was in Brazil for a couple of weeks.
so maybe maybe her and her agents were meeting with each other like in secret or something like that. So we can theorize that maybe she was meeting with the people who are organizing this event in Brazil.
Yeah, I can recall that she's, at least since I started keeping up with her, maybe the past 2 years, she's been a few times to Brazil, but this is the first time to my knowledge, they're doing a Sages-centric concert, or an actual symphony. So good on them, and it's like Ben has already said, that's just great, especially for people that live in South America. Indeed, it's much closer, and gives you an opportunity. Though I'm sure we will have fans even from Mexico, from different other places go to these, because again, it's still much closer than going to other places. So I'm looking forward to hearing news from that, see how it goes up. But I'm happy for all of our Brazilian friends, because indeed they're a big market and they were due for their own concert.
So first and foremost, like it's sad that we don't really get to talk much at all about what's going on in Brazil, and because like a lot of it does go hand in hand with like whatever happens in Brazil. Usually, well, Mexico gets it like soon after, so we usually kind of skip over a lot of that type of stuff, unfortunately. And I do feel really, really bad that with concerning, like, I do believe that we do have a lot of listeners from Brazil that have that do listen to the show. And with that said, I am very happy that you guys are getting this opportunity to get this concert experience that we discussed very long, like for not just the last episode, but a couple episodes like way before, in the first one where it was Benkas and Pollux. They gushed over it. So it's finally good to finally have that experience for the Brazilian fans as well. Another thing you guys brought up that I didn't think about till like right now, when I think Jackie brought it up, or Benkas, is that Brazil is much closer to South America, and I do know for a fact a lot of people from South America were very disappointed they could not make it to couldn't make it to the Mexican leg of the tour. So hopefully, from people from like Buenos Aires and Argentina can trek over to Brazil and do this concert. I'm pretty sure too that's what's contributing to the fact they're doing 3 days as opposed to like one huge day. Yeah, as they would here in Mexico, is like they want to accommodate for all the fans in South America, not just the Brazilian fans as well.
Brazil itself being pretty big, so they're trying to accommodate. It sounds to they're major cities, so I'm assuming that why they're trying to make it somewhat centralized to different areas, so as many people travel, which is one of the things a lot of fans Mexico request when can you bring the concert outside of Mexico City? Because obviously Mexico is pretty big too, so it was a big trip. We were coming from Baja California, from You can whatever. It's still up. It's a trip.
We had Alex, who's from like Canada, I believe, and I think he's from Ontario. So like you had people all the way up north as well. So it's like people trekked from from Canada all the way down here all the way to Mexico. So it's like it was a huge deal. But yeah, I can see why that we're not gonna get a symphony next year, or like if we may have to wait a little bit for another one. But I am happy for the fact is like for those of you those who are waiting for the concert to be a little bit more closer to like their location, especially for the South for people in South America or Central America. Here it is. Like it's closer to everybody, and I bet you it's gonna be experienced. And if rumors are true, like you're saying, Jackie, there might be some really cool guests, and I can't wait for you guys to experience. I can't wait for the people that didn't get the opportunity to experience the stuff with Yumi Matsuzawa and Nobu to experience that again with like Yumi Matsuzawa or someone else that they might bring in. Maybe they might bring in Hironobu Kagayama for all we know, which would be freaking awesome.
You never do. And think of it this way: the more countries, people that organize a Saint Seiya Symphonics in their own countries, others, might jump on the bandwagon. So let's just say Mexico got it started in the Americas.
Mm-hmm.
Now Brazil, you never know, and any could be Chile, could be Argentina, Ecuador, you name it.
Hell, I wouldn't be shocked if they do a long shot and do like one here in my location in California, which is relatively close to the border, so they can attract people from from both sides of both Mexico and the United States. Even though I don't think.
I would go to that.
And it would be because I'm pretty sure, and I would know how it would be set up too, because like they've done this before here in this location where this particular weekend it's a geek centric weekend. So I'm pretty sure that there's already going to be people out of the country already there, so they might as well just take advantage and do something.
You bring up a good point. If theoretically they wanted to experiment with something, the U.S. Southern California would definitely be the more highly likely place that it would happen.
And that's why I think too. That's why when we were doing the panel for WonderCon, the reason why they chose WonderCon is because its proximity is so close to the border and stuff like that. So it's because like anywhere you attract a lot of people from like at least from like Baja California and stuff like that. But any final thoughts, Benkos?
Well, just again to reiterate that I'm happy that they were getting one as well. A lot of Brazilian fans definitely wanted this. I am definitely sure that this is going to be a success as well. I would like to clarify that I think that the organizers for the Brazilian event are completely separate. They're their own entity in Brazil as the one that made it in Mexico. But the point is, and the most important part is that because it was successful in Mexico, and I am pretty damn sure that it's going to be successful in Brazil, the interest for the Latin American market to consume this type of event, and more importantly, to show to Toei that the franchise itself, that the name Saint Seiya sells, and that it's, oh God, the word has now eluded me now that I did it the most, but basically that it makes money. So
it's very profitable.
Yeah, it's profitable. Thank you. Like, it's profitable. So hopefully that this will help, because a lot has been said here and there, and like I don't want to get into that right now regarding like the whole financial status of the franchise in Toei's eyes. But regardless of that, if these events are successful, then it means that it can make money. I mean, if it shows to Toei and to the fatheads over there that it can make money, and hopefully they'll invest better in the franchise in the future. So it's a win-win by any account.
Any final thoughts, Jackie?
Yeah, I think it's a sign of good things to come. And Toei, hope they're definitely looking at this. Let me dream big. One day, perhaps, maybe they'll actually do an official tour coming from Toei, that they tour all of the Americas for Saint Seiya. And that way, more fans can attend, maybe without having to, go out of the country too. Because it's worthwhile, but it can be expensive. So anyway.
And it's not easy.
So good luck, Brazil. I hope it's a blast. And anybody, if they're listening to this, you hear any news, let us know. We'll share them too.
Yeah, if there's anything from Brazil that we may have missed, give us a shout out. Tell us, because we want to make sure that you guys get accommodated as well. We always talk about Europe. We always talk about France. We always talk about Spain. We always talk about like Mexico. And primarily we are a podcast that talks about itself in English. we do want to cover a lot of stuff from like all over the world, and we don't want to ignore you guys. One last thing I want to bring up, and that was the fact that I was wondering if Hironobu Kageyama had played any concerts in Brazil. I believe he played one last year. So I would not be shocked if like one of the people they might bring in might be him.
Now that would be something.
So I was like, that would actually be really cool if they can. I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna nudge them. You know, I'm not gonna nudge these guys to do it. But you know, it'd be kind of cool to be honest. So, but yeah, just figured. I figured we toss that one in, and like I said, we're still on this really cool high from the concert, and now people can now experience that for themselves, and I'm really happy about that. Why don't we get to the next bit of music news? And that is, we're getting a reissue in vinyl of the original Saint Seiya soundtrack. It is going to be released by. Let me look this up for a few seconds, because this is how professionals do their news stuff here, where we just like kind of be on the fly. I'm totally joking. This is not how you do things. This is not how you do it. This is not how you do any of these at all. So, it originally was announced by Microix Records in France that they're gonna have a limited edition of Saint Seiya vinyl that will be released in Europe in January of 2024. We got that bit of news. We kind of went underneath the radar. But like we kind of got more confirmation and stuff like that. So that's really cool. What's even cooler is that Black Screen Records in Germany will be distributing this for worldwide release. So if you're so inclined to want to buy one of these, Black Screen Records in Germany will be distributing this particular soundtrack to all across the world, not just in Europe. This is what I can tell you so far from looking through the track listings. Essentially, this is the first soundtrack. This is the first soundtrack from the series. It's the first time they published this in vinyl since its original release in 1986. So it's really cool that like for the first time since the 80s, we finally got ourselves a vinyl version of the original
and then
soundtrack.
An international edition at that, right? Because what you're mentioning is just from Japan.
No, this is from Europe, but what you
meant in 1986.
Oh yeah,
that was only in Japan.
Oh yeah, yes, that was only in Japan. Now this is available. Well, technically, it's supposed to be for Europe, but like we can get it sent from like all over the world as well. But like I said, even though it's the same soundtrack we've heard before, and it's a great soundtrack. It's a great soundtrack to have. And vinyls are a great collectible to have. I won't say I own a couple of vinyls myself, despite not having a record player, but it's really cool that they're taking advantage of this and putting out all these putting out the soundtracks once again on vinyl. So first things, let me take this to Jackie. Jackie, your thoughts on this?
I mean, myself, I'm not a vinyl collector, but just think about just having the original soundtrack available as an international release product. That is amazing. We don't see this very often at all with any kind of even modern series. We always have to import CDs or get it digitally, whatever. And on that note, this says original soundtrack volume 1. And if there's a volume 1, then I have no doubt, give it maybe half a year, we're gonna see a volume 2 for this. So,
well, we do know.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, if this is going by how the original soundtracks were distributed, we have like at least 6 more soundtracks to go.
Wow, that's really cool. Like, collect Beatles, but if there were to be a CD version of this, I would definitely get it.
That's cool. That's very good.
It's even as this, if you want to be like to display it or something too, I think that would look great. It really. I'm looking at the cover art. It just looks great.
So if you don't know how the cover art, we do at least have the cover art here. Like if you're watching us on Twitch, we have the cover art, which is just basically all 5 Bronze Saints just doing their iconic pose. I believe this is a Michi Himeno control art piece they've done, and this is something they've been using for years. And in the back has the Sagittarius cloth. And on the inside, the actual inside of the actual album itself, it looks like the clock from like from the Sanctuary. So with the fire lit up and everything. So it looks really cool. I think it's also like a deep blue as well to match the colors of the flames as well. So even if you just want it for as a display piece, it's a really cool display piece. Becca, your thoughts?
It's the only thing that I can say is, do they want to make they really want to make my wallet cry, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. Well, regardless of that, it's amazing. Like, here's the thing: I'm not a sound guy by any means. I don't know anything about about LPs or about vinyl records and stuff like that. But all I can see is, hey, if it's giving me the original soundtrack in an original capacity and in a format that's very much of the era when the series came out, I'm all for it. And I don't know how the hell I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna get that.
And like I said too, and when like I said too, one of the cool things is like even if you don't have an LP, they're at least going the extra effort. If you don't have like a record player, at least they're putting the effort in and giving you more. And so it can be like if anything, it's more than just an LP. It's a good discussion piece. I believe it's gonna be 39-40 euros, which translates to like maybe like $30 American. So it'll be affordable, but I don't know how it's gonna be at the end with shipping stuff like that. But you got time to save up. It won't come out like January of 2024. And I bet you too there will definitely be other releases. And like I said, they're like if they're going by the soundtrack, because like if these are from this is essentially the first soundtrack. And if that's the case, then they have so much more sources. They have so many other soundtracks to go to. And one of the things I would love to see them do, now that they have this now that we have this symphonic experience, now that we had all these like symphonies playing out like all out now in France, now in Brazil, in Mexico. One of the things I would like to see them do with these soundtracks is add more content, because like one of the things I was disappointed with was a lot of the songs in the CD, a lot of the songs that were released were kind of they were released, but they were like missing a lot of tracks. Most notably, a lot of tracks were missing from the fifth soundtrack, which is actually the Legend of the Hot Blooded Boys movie. All that there's a lot of tracks that they did not put in that album that didn't make it to print. So, and they've used a lot of those tracks even up to Hades, the anime of Hades. So I would like them in the near future to like put a lot of them to at least go in and add those remaining tracks from like the remaining tracks that they never put in the first place. That's one of my hopes, at least with this with and continue going forward. As of right now, we're just getting the bare bones original soundtrack from Japan, and you know what? That's good for me. I really appreciate that. Any final thoughts, anybody?
Just to say that it's definitely one of those items that it's worth having as a collector's item, particularly if it's probably going to be somewhat expensive considering it's vinyl and the era we're living in. But it definitely is something that, regardless if you use it for music or not, like just having it and being able to display it, and that vinyl itself is just beautiful. It's something that you could easily, put in glass or behind glass or something. So yeah, it's definitely something beautiful that if you are able to get a hold of it, which you should, by the way, because I think they've said that once the run the run ends, they're not going to be printing anymore. So consider that if you're thinking about acquiring it.
Mm-hmm. Any final thoughts, Jackie?
I agree. Like even if like me that don't really collect LPs, it would make a really lovely display piece. So in that sense, I might just consider it. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Same here. Like I have some, not very many, but I have some. But like they're pretty much like discussion pieces. Like, oh, that's a really cool. You have that album, of course. Final bit of news, and this is coming from your neck of the woods, Bankos. We finally got confirmation on issue 6 of the final editions of the manga. I believe issue 6 already just came out. Like just came out. Like, it just came out. I believe a couple of days ago. And I think they said issue 7 will be out sometime in November, I believe.
Probably November, but they had been releasing it bi-monthly, so if this comes out October, then probably December.
Sounds
most
about right,
likely.
yeah. And
And also considering that there are only 4 volumes published from like in Japan as well, like 4 more volumes,
mhm.
it doesn't make it like it. I don't blame them if they take a little bit longer to publish them. Because I mean, there's no point in just catching up to Japan and just having to wait for like a year before we get the other one. So yeah, I'm okay with them taking their time.
Any other thoughts, Brent? Because now that you got the ball rolling on that one.
The fact that well, we're catching up to Japan in that regard. The final edition is being able to be read by a lot of people around the world. I don't know where in what volumes the other versions are. I know that there's an Italian version. I know there's a Portuguese for Brazil, but I don't know what volumes
I
are there.
believe
But
France has still
regardless,
got
we're
it.
all yeah, we're all stuck regardless. Like on the ninth volume until Japan releases more volumes themselves. So we have to keep an eye on that before we can think about where this is going. But I can tell that at the very least, these volumes that are going to be published are going to be finishing the Sanctuary arc.
Very, very cool. Yeah, and I like I mentioned before, you sent me the first couple of books, and I'm absolutely loving this. I'm absolutely loving these new additions. I love all the new stuff they added in, and I'm just elated to see more. Jackie, any thoughts?
Actually, it's just kind of funny that it was only a couple of days ago. I was thinking, wonder when Panini Manga Mexico is going to start releasing the next volumes, and there you go. 2 days later, I got my answer. So, yay, that's really cool. I
It's like
still need to read the ones that Beck has gifted me, but I'm definitely looking forward to seeing more. And but this makes me think if Panini has decided to start printing the next 4 volumes, it perhaps whatever next volumes in Japan are going to start coming out too. So because I feel like maybe they take this process to kind of let Japan have enough time to start polishing their next batch of volumes and so on.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked that's what's going on. Where they're like, now that the ball's rolling again, now that the focus is 100% on Saint Seiya at the moment, that just publish anything with the word Saint Seiya and just see what happens. And yeah, like hopefully like people get more people get a hold of this. Hopefully too. Someone in the United States actually gets the license. I'm not gonna mention the who or anybody. Viz. Anyways,
Cough, cough.
but yeah, Dark Horse Comics. Oh wow, oh man, that was a that was a froggy right there in my opinion. But regardless, whoever picks it up and stuff like that, it will later on, it'd be cool. But like I said, it's really good that some parts that now we're finally get kind of like this simultaneous release from Japan. Because I remember seeing this like back in July. And then we started seeing listings for these. I believe that's when we first started seeing like the covers at least. 'Cause I know the first one that you should be seeing on screen has Moo. I believe the second one has Aldebaran on it. So I'm pretty sure like, and then like I think
the gold temples, if you will.
Yeah, they're going in order.
So
Oh, by the way, just a little heads up for anybody interested in the final editions. It's kind of spoilery. You probably need to have seen the story beforehand. Otherwise, it spoils a lot of things that are revealed in the previous versions of the story. So just take that into consideration.
Yeah. All I gotta say is it adds a lot more context in a very positive light. This is something we're going to be discussing in the near future. Like not now. Again, like as I've been saying, like every time we discuss stuff like this, that's a fourth quarter thing. We're barely on the first quarter. Like this is not something we're going to be worrying about. Not yet, at least. Alrighty then, guys. I think that's it for the news. Is there anything else I'm missing from the news that you guys want to bring up before we get started with our episode breakdowns?
I think that's all that's important and relevant for the time being. If more things come out by the time we record the next episode, we'll talk about those.
Alrighty then. Why don't we get started in with our episode breakdown? Why don't we start with which is episodes 94 to 97? I got it right this time. I got it right. After so long of not getting it right, we finally got it right. So, Benkas, let's break this down. Help us break it down, my good man.
Okay, very well. Episode 94, The Bond of Brotherhood. Bod, rest in your homeland. The fight between Bod and Iki continues as Iki's attack is rendered ineffective against Bod's Shadow Viking Tiger Claw. Shun tries to intervene but is defeated. As Iki rises alongside Shun once again, Sayori reaches out to Seiya and Hyoga to awaken them from their slumber. Hyoga gets up and uses his Cosmo to destroy the blocked pad in front of them. Iki and Shun prepare to attack Bod, but he is faster than them. Shaina saves Shun from being killed, and then Bod proceeds to attack Iki. Iki counterattacks with the Hogen Maken. Bot then has a hallucination where he fights and defeats Sid, but as he's about to deal the final blow, he can't get himself to do it. Bot laughs at it up, but Iki confronts him on why he intervened in the first place to try and save Sid from Shun's nebulous storm. Iki then makes him realize he actually cares for Sid. Then Iki and Bot fight once again, where Iki manages to hurt Bot by touching his seventh sense. Sid tries to hold Iki in place for Bot to kill him. However, this reveals that Sid knew about Bod from the very beginning and that he cared for him, and even is willing to sacrifice himself for his brother. But Bod cannot bring himself to do it even when Iki didn't try to stop him. Sid dies and Bod tries to understand why he couldn't do it. Iki reveals the value of brotherhood to Bod, who mourns his fallen brother and carries him out into the wilderness, expressing to Iki as he leaves that he felt like believing in what Iki said about fighting for a world where brothers could live happily. Hilda curses Bot, and instructs Siegfried to protect her. Seiya stands up as Hyoga was left unconscious after freeing the path, and then carries on. The episode ends with Bot carrying Sid into their childhood home, or towards their childhood home, wishing to be brothers and happy in a new life.
Initial thoughts, Jackie?
Not too many on this one, but I just think it was such a sad ending for those twins, especially with Bud trying to deny. No, I didn't care, but ultimately he actually cared about his brother. I just really made like minor notes. One of the things that was kind of funny in this episode before Iki does the what do you call the demon
the Hogen Maken?
Yeah, the Hogen Maken. I just think it was interesting the way that he missed the kick that he launched at but he's like goes in a straight line and misses. I don't know why. I just thought that looks funny, weird in a way. Like, oh, you missed so bad there, but he didn't land the punch ultimately. So I just think it's a funny animation. On that note, I'm always what amazes me about Iki, he's like the jerk of the five. Bronze says, but at the same time, he's like the most attuned to noticing people's inner demons. Like he always picks up on that. Yeah. Because it happens with Meme, and I guess ever since Iki came clean and redeeming himself, he's really attuned to noticing that in other people. And he did with the twins, and we're gonna see it again for sure in an upcoming episode.
Yeah, in the near future we will be seeing something like that. I don't have much as well, but I do have something I do want to get off my chest here, and that's the fact is like during this whole entire fight, we have Shaina. Shaina's in this fight, but they relegated her to just be screaming everybody's name. And I'm like, yeah. Oh god, it goes back to what we were talking about again, where it's just like in the previous arcs, we know that she's more than a capable fighter, but here it seems like the writers just somehow like had like some sort of like either they somehow forgot that she could fight, or they just needed someone to do a little bit more, and she kind of like relegated her to just like people, just her screaming people's names out, and I'm like, she could do more.
Made me think of something. Maybe they just wanted her not to disappear for some. I mean, think about it. June disappeared. We never see her again.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't want that happening with Shaina or Marin.
That's actually good.
They could have easily included June in this in this, since we never see her again. But nope.
That is actually a good point. Actually, that's actually something I never really considered. But, yeah, wow, that is.
It just feels like they're filler more than actually contributing something to the arc, but.
Yeah, and not only that too, it's like you are correct. It's like they know that they're important characters, and it is something that we've noticed in the CGI show where they're doing more. They're doing a lot more with the characters, especially with like Junet and stuff like that. But you know, and so like on one hand, yeah, it's great that they're acknowledging these characters, that these characters are still vital to the story and they're still part of this universe. But I guess where I'm coming from is like I wish they did more. I wish they did more than just stand there or take a hit for somebody and that's it. That's kind of like my biggest gripe with this episode and also the next episode as well.
Yeah.
That saying go like the road to disaster is built with good intentions or something like that.
Yeah,
Like that's basically it because like the again it's not a matter about the ideas. The ideas themselves about having Shina, having Marin participate in this arc. They're good ideas, but the execution as always is what's lackluster when it comes to how both of those characters are handled.
yeah,
Well, not only them, so the protagonists as well, but we'll get into that later.
yeah. But in terms of the fight itself, I do like the fact that like one of the things that I do like is that it's not a real like beat down like everyone's fighting each other and like doing stuff. That's for the next fight right there. That is literally the drag out beat down the fight that everybody wants. But it does add a lot more like it adds a lot more to the story of these two and it is something that it's something that we've been seeing since it's like since the beginning of this arc. We've been following these two characters. We've been following at least Sid, but now that you have Bud in, now it adds a little more complexity to the proceedings and seeing how complex this all ends up. I do like this. As sad as it is, I do really believe that this is one of the stronger fights in the series at this point, despite a lot of what the fuckness. I think going the going towards it, there's a lot of it, but I think the ending was well executed in my opinion. Any thoughts, Bencas?
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. Like, I have my grievances with how the fighting choreography has been basically this entire arc. But in general, like, I'm trying not to pay too much attention to, like, the actual. This sounds horrible, but I'm not paying too much attention to the visuals that are happening on screen. I'm focusing more on the actual characters and the narrative that they're trying to give. And I think that they've been pretty much nailing it with certain grievances, but in general, the let's put it like this: the dramatic tension and the motivations between Bud and Sid work for me just as well as with what Mime did. Like they have very like obviously they're trying to touch on the viewers like emotional side by like projecting all of these tragic characters, right? And after a while that gets tiresome. But at the very least, like despite the fact that they're doing that, the execution and the way that these characters like you feel for the characters, like the characters' names even if you don't remember their techniques, so to speak. Like you know about those characters and the story makes you care about like the outcome to those characters, and it's a tragic ending in the end because like you can see that like what Bud all that he wanted was just to be loved by anybody. And I think that the moment that he realized that both he did love and he cared about his brother and that his brother also cared about him as well, that kind of like made him like he became a tragic figure after that. And unfortunately that led to him just walking out with his dead brother in hand. Though I do feel a little bit how to put it, like I feel like he was kind of like, okay, why are you walking towards the wilderness like that and basically going to your death? I don't see the point in you dying in this moment, but oh well. That's like my only grievance.
Maybe he thought he was gonna make it to their homeland or wherever their family's estate was.
He probably would have, but considering that it is, even though it's not shown visually, it is implied that Iki's attack did basically almost kill him, or at the very least left him on a state of almost dying. So it was a tough thing that he would be able to achieve. So he was walking towards his death as well, and he knew it.
Yeah, so like yeah, so I mean we have grievances with a lot of the stuff. It's like and I will agree. That's something I think we can universally agree. This is still not one of the strongest arcs, but like we're starting to see them at least put the building blocks to better things here. At least it's being shown that like at least that like they're not, at least they're trying to stick to a landing, not to stick to landing like a good like 10 out of 10. But they realize, oh my god, we flubbed this up. Let's at least try not to stumble our way and I like hit our heads hit our heads in the wall or something like that on the way down. So they're doing, and like I said, it's gradual. It's not by a whole lot because there's still a lot of problems, and like the front end of it, a lot of problems. The front end, but at least this back end that we're seeing is trying to get a little bit better, but not by a whole lot. There is a huge difference. There's a marked difference in like how things are happening. Any final thoughts, Jackie?
Just a minor thought I had. You know how I guess both Bud and was it Sid or cutting sex? I forgot. Or was it Bud that was the one with the really sexist comments? But it made me wonder if perhaps the whole reason he was like that is because he resented his whole family, his mom for abandoning him, and all that. I don't know. It was just a random thought I had. But nonetheless, I tend to dislike most of the Asgardian gods and all that, but I actually felt sorry for the twins. Like, I don't know why. It really got to me this time. Or maybe because Bud actually started crying. He just felt like really sorry and he finally came out with his true feelings. I guess maybe that's one way they were trying to sort of what's the word? Save most of the Asgard. Redeem itself. Redeem themselves with the art. Because that actually was I think a good way to end it. Dramatic, but like it felt like a much more better fight, if you will, compared to some of the other ones we had that were just kind of like, what's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like what's his face? Oh my god, Albert. Oh my god. Where it's like they had to like invent new moves for him just on the fly. I'm like, no, dude, this is not how it works. It's like again. Thank God they didn't do this with Sid and Bud, because like, if they did that, oh my god, it would have been horrendous. I would have just turned. I would have been like, no, this show's over. We're gonna this is a new. This podcast is now a Dragon Ball podcast. I'm sorry. This is just too stupid even for me at this point. But no, they like. But at least like I said, at least they're realizing now that they're doing, now that they have a little bit, now they have a little bit more to work with, and now that they're kind of like getting out of out of this weird funk of filler, they're starting to like put the building blocks at least a little bit into like the next arc a little bit better. And you can see it as early as this. When we get to get to the next couple episodes, I have some thoughts, some very positive thoughts, and some weird thoughts as well. But regardless, that's for the next couple episodes. Any final thoughts, Becas?
No, I think it's good to move on to the next one.
All right, and hit us with the next episode, really good man.
Okay, then we proceed to episode 95, A Noble Hero, the Legendary Knight Resurrected. Oh, I'd actually like to begin because now that even though we've been presented Siegfried, we've known him pretty much since the very first episode of this arc, but we don't really know too much about him other than it's been heavily implied that he's Hilda's right-hand man. Now that it's finally the time for his fight, I'd like to say a little bit of trivia about Siegfried.
Go for
it. Regarding as with the other characters, when he was originally presented in the Kosei memo from Takao Koyama, he originally intended Siegfried to be the actual mythological hero living in present day. His profile reads, leader status. He was imprisoned in a perpetual ice coffin and revived thanks to the magical power of the Nibelungian ring. That is why his loyalty to Hilda is the strongest. He was secretly in love with Hilda, similar to how Jabu felt towards Sayori. He is an ambitious person, the god warrior of legend who is said kill the dragon. So even though he doesn't really change too much in terms of personality, it is very, very clear that, because I think that some elements of that were left in the series, but it's kind of like iffy. that he was the actual hero Siegfried, the one from the Norse mythology.
Yeah.
And apparently that was the original intention for him to actually be the hero of legend.
Huh.
And I just find it amusing the fact that they put that his relationship towards Hilda is kind of like with that of with Jabu. I can
Oof.
see that it's somewhat true, even though it's not quite as obvious and as blatant. Some of the elements of that still remain in the final character.
Yeah, and I was like, I didn't want to, I didn't want to derail it too much, but, um, yeah, and that was something that I realized, and I think the dub didn't help one bit. Where it's like the ambiguity as like what if this was actually the actual Siegfried of legend and the act and like just some guy named Siegfried or the resurrected version of him. It's kind of ambiguous, and like I don't think,
It was.
and I think the dub didn't do a good job at like at conveying that because I've been watching it dub just just to like because it's easier for me to get it in English than watch it in Japanese or I can watch it in Spanish, but I like at the end of the day, I think like if I'm doing other stuff, I would rather be watching in English. But it seemed, but I was paying attention. But like most of the time, whenever they brought up Siegfried, it felt like they didn't they it felt like they were talking about one character, but in reality, it's supposed to be two different characters. But they didn't know like which character to be talking about. But continue, Brenthouse.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to make that because it is like very iffy. Like even also the Latin American dove kind of leaves it like that. Like sometimes
That's
they
what I was
refer to
gonna
him as
point out too. That I remember the same issue with the Latin American dub.
Huh?
yeah, like they never explicitly said he's the hero from the actual myth, but like the way that they talk and the way that he describes himself and stuff, it basically they might have just well left it implicitly. So yeah, it's kind of like it's a mess, but that's the reason for that. Okay, now proceeding to the actual episode. Episode 95, A Noble Hero, the legendary knight resurrected. Freya tries to leave the cottage she has been recovering from, revealing that Sayori will die by midnight if things continue like this. Freya proceeds to reveal the mythology behind Siegfried and how he slayed a dragon and became immortal after bathing in its blood. Shun and Iki find Hyoga, but he's still very weak. By Iki's encouragement, he stands up, and between Iki and Shun, they carry him. Shiryu continues to be unconscious in the frozen wilderness. Seiya arrives at the front of Odin's statue where he is greeted by Siegfried, who emanates a powerful and dreadful Cosmo. Seiya tells Siegfried that Hilda has turned to evil due to the Nibelungen ring, but Siegfried does not believe him. They proceed to fight, with Siegfried being completely unfazed. He then proceeds to beat Seiya up, and as the others arrive, Seiya is defeated by Siegfried. Shiryu then is reached out by the old master and starts to awaken. Iki proceeds to attack to no avail as the fight continues. Siegfried emerges the victor again. Shun proceeds to fight against him now, trying to protect himself and Hyoga, but in the end both are defeated by him. Shiryu then advances towards the others as Siegfried remembers a memory from prior to the conflict. Hagen swearing to become a god warrior and Hilda wishing to avoid conflict ever arriving. Shiryu then collapses and Seiya awakens and stands up again. Iki tries to stop Siegfried, but and Seiya is able to land his attacks. However, and he begins to rise his Cosmo. Siegfried then begins to question Hilda's motivation, but he swore to protect Hilda until the end, regardless of her motivations. Siegfried then attacks Seiya with his most powerful attack, the Dragon Bravest Blizzard, but is saved by Shaina as both of them receive the attack, and the episode ends.
So, I mean, there's a lot of it seems to be a lot of setup at that point. I feel like they're just setting. It feels like they're just doing a lot. They're doing a lot to like they're doing a lot of posture. They're doing a lot of things to position Siegfried as this undoubtable force. And now that you mentioned a lot of stuff with how things were going behind the scenes, a lot of things kind of feel kind of like I'm starting to see the building blocks like in there. Like one of the things I was kind of like iffy on was the stuff like if this guy was or wasn't. But then again, to now that you said that, it's like no, that was just kind of a universal constant on every edition and everything. They just either forgot to like put that in, either they forgot to take that out, or they figured people would or at least would be like not stupid enough to like to not like realize what's going on. But unfortunately, that didn't convey that didn't come out as it should. But it does show, like, he is a powerful fighter, and I think, like one, he has like the best cloth out of all the God Warriors, in my opinion. Like that is like top 10 designs, in my opinion. And two, he is such a great character in terms of like his aesthetics and his fight style and stuff like that. All that stuff is like just bar none, like some of the best I've seen out of Asgard. But Jackie, you have any thoughts?
Um, one of the things that has bothered me throughout the whole Asgard arc, since the very beginning we've been told this is the land of being forever frozen and we pay this interest so the rest of the world is okay. But notice how including in this episode, we have some sequences that there is spring in Asgard.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always wondered about that. That inconsistent that they're saying that Asgard's always eternally frozen and cold, yet there's definitely throughout the whole arc we've seen multiple times that there are spring days, they have flowers, and they have warm weather. So just a contradiction in the back of my mind always bothered me a bit.
For me, I always interpreted it as like the days before, because like they do explain in the introduction episode 2 to this arc that there was a time where there was like at least sun, where there was sunbathing, but I think Hilda says something to the extent of like we're experiencing a cold we've never experienced before, and we don't know when it's gonna stop. So I'm implying that maybe something in the past, like that was in the past where things were a little bit more stable, but now that things are kind of unstable, which I think we'll figure out later why things are unstable. It's trying to look like, like because of that instability, they've been like it's 40 days and 40 nights of just pure blizzards.
Like, it doesn't have, and I wonder if it's just an issue with both. I'm talking about Latin America, and even when I watched it in English, I kind of felt that was the issue, that both of them, they didn't really clarify if this is something that started happening, I guess, recently for Asgard, that they're just having this kind of endless winter, but they had spring, or this is just how it's always supposed to be. And I always had that in the back of my mind. To me, it just felt inconsistent.
Any thoughts, Bekas?
Oh yeah, I have a few.
Go for it.
Okay. First, when it comes to Siegfried himself, I think he's an interesting character because he's very strange. Like, there's a part of him that is very arrogant and very cocky, but also there's a part of him that's kind of very noble. And I think that one of the things that is confusing about his character is that he constantly goes back and forth. Like, we see moments before he actually fights in the previous episodes where he's very noble, very like the typical loyal knight, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there are parts where you can kind of see his arrogance and he's like being overly cocky and somewhat ambitious. Like there are parts where you can kind of see that, and it makes the character confusing. So I think that they kind of were trying to figure out what they were trying to do with him, because they undoubtedly thought from the very beginning that he was going to be like the final boss, so to speak, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of the seven. But I think that he also suffers from last boss syndrome, where he's just like stupidly more powerful than all of the others combined for no like actual logical reason. Well, there is one kind of implied both in this episode and the next one about how the hero Siegfried is supposedly immortal due to him bathing in the blood of a dragon. But I still feels off, and it's one of the things that I'm going to be complaining very much when we go into the final episode, because it has to do with one of my biggest gripes regarding the Asgard arc, that has to do with power scaling. Now, power scaling in Saint Seiya has always been one of those things that's kind of obviously it does. There's a lot of factor of the characters having to use will in order to succeed. But there is a certain power level that is somewhat logical in the series that I think that the anime has always done a great work at fucking up, because it makes it seem that, like, as somebody once described it in a very ill manner, it makes the protagonists look like all they have to do to win is just pull the power out of their ass to win, because they face against these really powerful enemies. And yes, I'm talking about Siegfried specifically at this moment. And all of a sudden, they magically like gain the power to defeat them in just one attack, which has happened with a lot of the God Warriors up until now.
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't been as natural, or it hasn't been as organic as it was with, for example, the 12 temples. And that is one of the biggest grievances that I have with this arc. And Siegfried's fight is an extension of that, and it's one of the primarily examples of that. He's just stupidly powerful. I legitimately don't see a reason for him to be as powerful. It's implied that he's at the very least as strong, if not more, than some gold saints. Yet at the same time, that is going to be completely not true when we go into the last episode, and I'll go into detail as to why that is. So again, it's just Toei fucking up the power scaling and showing up their incompetence when it comes to the writing of Saint Seiya. That is like that grieves me quite a bit. Having said all that, the episode in itself was very entertaining, and at the very least, it's entertaining to watch Siegfried dominate the battlefield.
Yeah, he like I said, it was really cool to see all those fights happen and stuff like that. Like I said, it's not something you pay attention to until you start to. It's not something you pay attention to until you start to say out loud, and then when you start to say things out loud, that's when things start to like fall apart. But what's interesting is like is that it's like you think it starts off really strong. It's like, and we're seeing that stuff like play out, but we know how this is gonna end, and we do have like all of us have our complaints, but at the same time too, like there are some like at least the getting towards a lot of that stuff is at least pretty interesting in my opinion, better than they've been doing for the last couple of episodes in my opinion. Any other thoughts, Jackie?
I forgot to say it earlier, but in the Bobek has mentioned China took another hit for Seiya again. Oh,
oh no, yeah, you're right.
I just rolled my eyes.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah. It's like, and that's all she does in this batch of episodes, unfortunately.
Yes. I could have just, as far as how the ladies get treated in this arc, I just gave up already.
I don't blame you. That's what led to my first, because it started as early as like the last episode. It's like, dude, Shiny could do so much more at this point, but you're not really using her to her full potential, and that's really, really sad. And like, the other thing I don't like is like I really like Shina, but they're treating her this way. It's like, oh god, why don't you could do so much better with her. Any final thoughts, Minkas?
No, well, the thoughts that I have, I want to leave them until the very last episode because it ties to that. So let's move on to the next.
Yeah, let's move on to the next episode then.
96.
Okay. Episode 96, Dragon versus Dragon. 100,000th of a second chance of winning, sorry. As Seiya and Shina fall, Shiryu arrives and prepares to fight Siegfried. As they fight, Shiryu is unable to harm him, though he is able to stand his ground against him. Shiryu prepares to throw his Shoryu-ha, but Siegfried repels it. Shiryu then, stunned by this, begins to think about the legend of Siegfried and his immortality. Shiryu is attacked, but as Sayori weakens and puts her faith on her saints, Shiryu withstands the attack and prepares to sacrifice himself by using the Koryu-ha. But Shura's spirit, as well as the realization that the attack destroying the Sapphire could also happen, stops him. Siegfried retaliates with the Dragon Bravest Blizzard, striking Shiryu. He begins to remember a story from the old master about the danger of a double-edged sword. Shiryu stands up once again, having realized Siegfried's weakness. As Siegfried prepares to throw another Dragon Bravest Blizzard, Shiryu strikes on the heart with the Shoryu-ha. Shiryu then strikes, but is hit as well and defeated in the process. Before he passes out, Shiryu reminds Seiya of their fight long ago and the weak point of the dragon, the place that was left unprotected by the dragon's blood, on the heart. Shiryu then tasks Seiya with finishing the job. Seiya stands up once again, ready to defeat Siegfried, making Siegfried admire their determination. Hilda is then approached by a man claiming to be a servant from the one who bestowed the Nibelungian ring on her. The episode ends with both fighters ready to strike.
All right. Wow. So, again, like back to the whole thing about like Shiryu must have like a solid
satellite communication.
No, it's like he has like his memory is like a solid lock and can remember stuff like right on the fly. But then I remember too. Like no, this was Doko pretty much telling him like, dude, this is what you're supposed to do. Like just like it was a direct call to him from using his 7th sense. So I forgot that. But again, I feel like I'm not gonna say anything bad because I think at this point we've already the horse has already made glue at this point, and I don't think enough beating can take. I don't think enough beating can be done at this point. But it is kind of hilarious at this point. It is kind of hilarious. It went from annoying to not being hilarious. That it's just out of nowhere, just shoot out of nowhere, Shiryu can just get something out of his brain, or Doko can just give him something at the last minute and be like, dude, remember?
I don't think this is correct, but I haven't thought of that. Like, why Shiryu always? So I remember the myth about this and that. I think Doko, all those 200 plus, she had to spend there sitting around. He must have been reading a lot. I guess while he was training Shiryu, he also to tell him a lot of stories.
I know, and that's why the thing is he must that's why I made that. That's why I made the joke. It's like this guy must have overshared everything. I bet you one morning he's like, Shiryu, do you see that dump I took Did you see that dump I took this morning? It's this big and this stinky, man. And it's like, dude, we don't need to hear that. I'm already blind as is. I can my nose gets already beyond.
Yeah.
My nose senses are already beyond anything I'm capable of, and I can smell it from over here. For God's sakes, no. But still, yeah, you are correct. He needs to have a lot of time. And it leads to another thing I wanted to ask. In the flashback, it shows Shiryu fighting. Is that Shiryu fighting Oko? Or is that or is that supposed to be like? Oh
yeah, there was a random guy.
Yeah, what is going on here?
Who are those poor people that Shiryu slayed with a sword?
Yeah, anyways, Jackie, your thoughts before I.
No, I mean, honestly, that was the main note that I had. That Shiryu consistently knows the myths. So I remember the myth from this guy, and from that guy, and from that guy.
Well, if this whole Saint of Athena thing doesn't work out for sure, he could be a professor at a university.
Oh yeah,
because I don't think I was thinking on I don't think Seiya ever is like, oh, I remember this myth. Or Shun.
Yeah, he does. Seiya does a couple of times. Although not so much myths, more about fables and
but seriously, Shiryu, I think Doko was just amassed a library of tales and crap over 200 years. Because we do see he has some kind of home.
Well, to be fair, if you had to be stuck in front of a waterfall for 200 plus years, you probably would have nothing better to do than to read.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, and also too, one of the things is when it concerns Seiya is that Seiya seems to be because of how he is. He remembers more okay, this is what Marin taught me to do during this fight. So his more his background stuff when it comes to this kind of stuff involves more oh, in this fight I should be doing this in this fight because this is what Marin told me. Because I believe that he one of his most prominent things he does that with was when he was fighting Aldebaran.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, oh, Marin told me to do this so I can survive the attack. So, but yeah, keep going.
No, I mean, it was kind of goes where I thought I had earlier this week when I was talking to a friend. What did some of these saints? For example, I think Marin, she does say Greek. I don't think they said it like this in the English stuff, but I remember in the Latin dub when in the Sagittarius Temple they find Aeolus' will, that I think Seiya specified that it was in Greek, so he read it, and I think he was the only one able to read Greek.
Yeah, when you're sucking Greece for a very long time, it's and also too, their teacher is implied to be Japanese, so I'm pretty sure they taught each other how to speak. I'm pretty sure they taught each other to speak and read in Greek.
And that's something for to be another time. But yeah, who taught what? We learned from the fun story from the manga, the final edition, for example, that Kami taught Hyoga French.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but I just think compared to that, so okay, we had two teachers that taught languages, and what did Doku? He just told a lot of stories to share.
He overshared everything, man. That's what ended up happening.
Yeah, I don't really have. I can't remember. Was this the episode too that they reveals Siegfried's weakness or no?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it was.
Okay. I just one thought I had on that is that remember how it said like that his one weak point is where we see that a tiny little leaf fell in his back. Well, if you in the previous episode when they were talking about the myth about him, he's just like he's covered his whole body in blood. But they kind of showed an inconsistency that some parts of his body in the footage wasn't completely covered in blood. So I'm like,
Yes.
So he supposedly only has that one weakness in the back, but it's like you missed the front here, dude.
Yeah,
Like nobody's looking here.
Like you miss a couple of spots here. All of it you're just dripping out of it, but like because it's dripping, because of how it's dripping, all that stuff. It's like it's not going all the way across your body. No. I can easily just hit you in the shins and you'll be done.
Anyway, small, random, useless trivia and fun stuff, but
yeah,
that's all I'm reading about this episode.
Pretty much.
I'm sorry.
I don't know if it was this episode, I don't know if it was this episode or the previous episode, but is this the episode 2 where it's like that Shiryu, not Shiryu, that Iki and Siegfried fight? Because that was actually kind of cool. If we're going,
yes, it's this one.
Okay, no, yeah, they actually have a really cool fight. Like very rarely do we ever get like hand-to-hand combat. Usually it's just them throwing like special attacks at each other. But it's very rare to see like them do hand-to-hand like fighting. And when they do, it looks like they blew their budget on it because it looked really cool. Them fighting all over the palace. Thoughts, Becas?
I really like this episode despite its flaws. The flaws of the episode itself, it's more of a continuation from the previous one. And also the thing that has kind of been like the unfortunate aspect of this arc after the first couple episodes that were animated by Shin Araki, where visually it's not that interesting. But at the very least, this time, as you mentioned, because Shiryu and Siegfried have more of a physical interaction like between them, like their fight is much more physical, them exchanging punches and dodging and kicking, and not just the throwing of the techniques and the Cosmo. That made it more interesting and fun to watch. Like, despite the fact that it still has flaws, it's a fun episode because of how the battle between Siegfried and Shiryu goes. Also, okay, I have to clarify. I am somewhat biased. Shiryu is my favorite character in the entire franchise and in general in fiction. So whenever, like, I usually tend to be more critical when he he's handled in a stupid way. But here he was handled in a very good way because despite the fact that he's not able to defeat Siegfried himself, he was the only one that was actually able to kind of stand up to him, and at the very least kind of hold his ground against him, or not be completely and immediately be beaten to the ground by him.
Ultimately figure out Siegfried's weakness.
And he's always been, not because the others are not intelligent, but he's always been the one that tends to be the more cerebral member of the five, if you will. So it's good to see him being utilized in that way because that's his role within the group, and it's good that he used that to his advantage and in the end to that of his teammate.
He's the tank, that's why.
Yeah, basically. And all of this, mind you, him being half naked.
Yeah. But go on, Bengals, finish your thoughts.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say, well, yeah, you are correct. Cause like we have Seiya, who we make fun of Seiya all the time, but he is at least smart to like know his techniques and stuff like that. So he's more of like he when it comes to like fighting smarts, he's really good. When it comes to like like observation and stuff like that, that's where Shiryu comes in. When it comes to emotions, it's an even split between Shun and Iki. And if you need something like more calculating and something a little bit more like thinking the long term, you go to Hyuga.
In theory, but I kind of felt Hyuga's just kind of became really useless in this last couple of episodes.
But I mean, in general, I'm just saying like that's sort of like how everybody's role when it comes to like how their team composition is. But keep going, Becas.
Yeah, well, just basically that. Like, in general, this episode was very fun to watch, and I think was probably one of the better episodes when it comes to the narrative. Because at the very least, this time it feels that okay, the point of the episode was not for Shiryu to defeat the enemy, but it was to showcase the weak point so that Seiya can then stand up against him. And I thought it was done very very well.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a shame that well, okay, I can't get past the fact that, and it has to be pointed out that the flaws that the episode has itself, the power levels, the fact that Shiryu, who's the one that actually doesn't have a claw, is the one that's actually able to stand up against Siegfried. The fact that they end up basically just recycling the whole, the heart for 100th of a millisecond is the weakness. Is the
does
thing.
it even matter at this point? Though that one
That's the
second
thing.
of this and that.
It's kind of lame that they had to repeat that, but at the same time, it is appropriate with the actual mythology of Siegfried, the mythological figure. I think. Don't quote me on that. I'm not an expert on mythology. If I'm wrong, please correct me. But as far as I am aware, I think that it's a good way to adapt it to this context and to a scenario that we're already familiar in Sensei. So it's kind of like, well, yeah, okay, I'll give it a pass. But yeah, like minor grievances aside, I really like this episode.
Any final thoughts, Jackie?
Yeah, I just thought it definitely was kind of weird they keep reusing that whole, even if it's 100th of a second, 1,000th of a second or whatever, that you're gonna have to hit me that fast. But oh well.
Mm-hmm.
It really probably, I think Siegfried was it's definitely one of the better God Warriors, and as far as character, this concept and development, and considering that he doesn't get that many episodes compared to some of the other fights, I think the story was pretty well developed. Like it actually makes, but he is also what I like to say. He's the most noble of all the God Wars, and then in the next episode definitely shows, and I would dare say that he is actually my favorite of all the God Warriors, like the one I did like.
Yeah, and like I said, we'll get to that later. But I got like I think I'm with Benkas on a lot of. I think me and Benkas are gonna pretty much had the same kind of a complaint. But why don't we get on to the last episode 97?
Yeah. All right. Okay, episode 97. Sea Witch, Beautiful Song of Death. As both begin to strike, Seiya sees the moment and strikes with his Ryuseiken. While Seiya was struck, he was able to hit Siegfried. The others give their Cosmo to Seiya, and he is able to stand up again. Hilda arrives at the feet of Odin's statue and tries to attack Seiya, but is stopped by Siegfried, who wants to see if the Saints are really on the side of justice and wants to finish it himself. Siegfried and Seiya face once again, with Seiya pushing back Siegfried and striking him, defeating him in the process. As Seiya tries to collect the sapphire, a flute begins to play. Then a figure appears behind Hilda, and he reveals himself to be a messenger from Poseidon, from the Undersea Sanctuary, one of the 7 Marina generals, Siren Sorrento, revealing that it was indeed Poseidon the one who forced the Nibelungian ring upon Hilda, desiring to defeat Athena and rule the earth. As Siegfried hears this, he stands up, Sorrento ensuring that he will defeat the Saints. Seiya tries to fight, but Sorrento's melody dulls his senses. Unable to hit him, he is stricken back by Sorrento. But Siegfried gives Seiya the last Odin sapphire, having realized that Seiya was right and deciding to strike Poseidon for what he did to Hilda. Raising his Cosmo to strike Sorrento, Sorrento begins to play the Dead End Symphony. Siegfried deafens himself, trying to stop the attack and to avoid it. However, the melody this is in vain, as the melody enters directly into his brain. In a desperate attack, Siegfried continues to try to attack and then decides to sacrifice himself, taking Sorrento with him, exploding his Cosmo and racing to the sky with Sorrento. Seiya and Hilda then prepare to fight against each other as the episode ends.
Okay, let me get this off my chest now. Sorrento says something that crawled up my brain. It's like it's my new brainworm now. It's like whenever it's that thing where it's just like it's never gonna leave my brain from now on. It's the most random thing he said, and it's this. He says to Hilda, like because Asgard is part of our domain. It is our position. It is part of our jurisdiction. I'm like, wait, what? Like, where did Odin have something to say about this? like the way he says it, like no. Asgard is our domain. This is like our turf. And like, dude, oh my god, like this is how it works. And I'm pretty sure even Odin's like, oh my god, what is going on here? I did not slay ice giants for this. For some guy from Greece to tell me that it belongs to him. Oh my god. Anyways, Jackie, your thoughts.
Yeah, there's a episode. You know, one of the things that bothers me, especially now that we haven't reread Poseidon, this guy puts the Marina in even a worse light. That's kind of like the bad guys, because when I first watched the anime, that's the impression I had of them, which is the next bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
the exception
let
of
me see.
Go on.
Yeah, that. Yeah, it's not like that. Like they make also Poseidon sound like he's like, oh, just control. You want to take over the earth. So that's like it's something that started bothering me with this. I don't know. What I'm trying to say is that I feel like how they try to connect the story here, because this is the point they're trying to connect the anime only arc to the next arc in the manga, which is Poseidon. So looking back on the whole argument, it just kind of felt poor to me. And then this is more like a random funny note. Do you notice how Hilda, well, I don't know if you guys saw it, but there's one frame that she has this ridiculously like bright lipstick she's wearing. But for whatever reason, is it really? Because I think it's happened in other episodes before. But then just like it's like in the next time you see, oh, it's gone. So I'm like, what the hell? It's like somebody here is like, oh no, I don't like this to get reaction. I didn't like it, but I thought she just looked really weird. She has this ridiculously really bright lips that kind of look out of place. So I don't know what they were trying to accomplish with that.
I think what ended up happening was like, you know, I think the reason why there's a weird inconsistency like that is because like I'm pretty sure what ended up happening was I'm pretty sure they had it done, but like no, it's not consistent to the other animators, or either that or like it was done by like one animator, and that one animator really liked Hilda, and he's like, let me give her like this nice makeup and stuff like that, just like let me go all the way with this, let me go all the way with Hilda here, and he snuck that one shot in of like. Looking
really glad because she looks like really nice and stuff, and then it's like, she looks like she's really like more villainous me. Like it's like she's supposed to be villainous right now.
Yes.
Also, my one thing was like, man, Siegfried must like care about pain or like pain, but you know when he decides to give Seiya his Odin Sapphire, did he really need to strike himself down? I mean, I know he probably knew he was gonna die anyway, but did he really need to strike himself down the middle, like punch a hole out just to?
Oh god, that hurts thinking about it.
Yeah, right, and then what does he do to try to beat Sorrento? He strikes. He destroys his eardrums. Like Jesus Christ, this guy. So much suffering pain.
Anyway, I'll get to my thoughts after. I'll get to more of my thoughts when after.
Yeah, I don't really have too much in this episode because it's just for me it would just turn out kind of weird. So let me hear your thoughts. They'll give me a better idea.
I was the passage to Bankhouse really. Bankhouse, yeah, like what are your thoughts? I know you have a lot, so go for it, Mega Man.
I have a lot of mixed feelings regarding this episode because on the one hand I do love it and I do like it, particularly because of Sorrento. I love Sorrento. He's a great character.
You say that, Sorrento.
And he's a badass. Like he's a badass in all the interpretations, in all the media he has appeared in.
Yeah, and I love the fact that he's like the central character in Rise of Poseidon. It just makes me so happy. But keep going.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Okay, wanna guess what's coming back? Guess how they did it in the manga sections are coming back.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. I'm kind of debating myself whether I should save this for when we actually begin the Poseidon arc in the anime, or if I just get it out of my system right now. But okay, I'll just cover some part here, and I'll retake some of those ideas later. That's what I'll do.
Yeah, because we're not fully in our Tiny Toes are barely getting into getting into it. So like, let's start off really small as soon as possible. We know this is a huge deal, and I do like this is just like the contrast is night and day when it comes to this kind of stuff. So let's try to take it as not as little as possible, but as brief as possible for right now.
Okay, as brief as possible is obviously because the manga directly jumps right after the events of the Sanctuary arc and immediately begins with the Poseidon arc, and the whole purpose of the Asgard arc was to become filler to give time for the manga to breathe in order for them to then jump onto that arc and animate it next. Obviously, there had to be some compromises here, and they saw fit trying to join the two arcs by having Poseidon be the one who gave Hilda the Nibelungian ring, and basically he's the one, the puppet master controlling everything behind the scenes. Now and then Sorrento arrives and he's the messenger, basically, of Poseidon, being the very first Marina General that we get to see in action, which is something that happens in the manga as well. But the way the executions were very different. I'm gonna leave how it was handled in the manga for when we get to the actual Poseidon arc. All I say is that I thought that it was fit that they brought Sorrento in to try to connect this stuff because it's the closest they could get to adapting what actually happens in the manga. That being said, again, the execution and the things that this is setting in motion is gonna make every single fucking character in this arc, including the protagonist and Athena, as complete and utter morons, and because again, the power levels. The way that this is being portrayed is that Sorrento could easily defeat any of the enemies that has in front of him. At the very least, that he could easily defeat Siegfried, who already is bullshit level powers at this point, from what we've seen, right? But no, Sorrento is stronger than him. So, therefore, Sorrento and the Marina Generals, by extension from what we know at this point, are probably stronger than the Gold Saints, right?
Yes.
That's how they're portraying it.
Yeah.
So that's I just want you to remember that because I'll come back to that when we get to those episodes later. Okay, so that's the impression that they're given, and it takes Siegfried, basically, who's already dying. It's like, okay, fuck it, I'll do a kamikaze attack, and then, because they had nothing better to come up with their sleeve, they pulled out of their ass that he's also capable of doing a Koryuha without a name. Just to avoid, making that more confusing. But he can also do that because he's a dragon, apparently.
Yeah.
And okay,
all dragon saints can do that. They just they all kind of that's a kind of something they all learn inherently. But keep going.
Yeah, it's like this technique is you kill yourself, but you kill the opponent. Like, don't do it, but you can win with this. Anyways, okay. So it's kind of like it's infuriating because this is presenting everybody like it's making the Marina Generals to be overly powerful, and he's making like everybody else look like very incompetent morons in terms of power. I want to leave it here because I need to return to that once we get to the actual Poseidon episodes. But okay, I just want you to know that that's very important for what's to come and for how that affects the Poseidon arc in itself.
And Beckers will have a lot more to say then.
Oh yeah, I will, because trust me when I say that makes me very angry. Okay, because it's Toei being Toei, and they're showing it right now. But anyways, leaving that aside, the episode itself, I really enjoyed it because of what was presented. It was fun, it was entertaining, and it was also dramatic because even though it was in a very bullshit and stupid way, Siegfried's death is something that you feel, because despite him being somewhat arrogant in prior episodes, you kind of feel for the guy, because he was basically tricked. He just wanted to be a protector to his priestess, or to a faithful servant to his gods, in this case Odin. But he was manipulated, and he learns that in a hard way. So he tries to sacrifice and in a way make amends to that, and well, we'll learn how that goes later. But so that's the end of Siegfried for now, and it's kind of a tragic thing. And now the final confrontation between Hilda and the Saints of Athena is put into place. But it was an interesting way into incorporating both things, and at the same time setting up the events of what's going to come once this particular arc comes to its conclusion. That's all I can say on the matter for now.
Okay, so my opinions on this is gonna be at face value. Like whatever I'm about to say, it's only pertaining to what presented to me in the anime. I am divorcing myself from discussing anything from the manga, for the most part, because I understand, because one, I do believe that I do believe that like a lot of what's been, like, I want to be fair and present what's presented to me on screen, and two, I want this to be like, I kind of want to be as fair as possible, as much as I can, as like, as well. I have to be biased because it's like I loved it, because like I'm the host of the show and stuff like that, but I kind of have to also take a step. I have to show some sort of restraint, at least. So I can't like be like, oh, I absolutely love. Well, I can't say that, but I have to show, like, as a professional discussing. Okay, I'm digging. I keep on digging these holes here. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, I have to be careful on how I word all this, because on one hand, I do agree with you, Bancos, that doing this kind of like doing all this, especially since we know what happens later in the manga. And then also, too, what we now have with accelerating media, like with Rise of Poseidon, it's not, the two ideas are not really kind of like connecting to each other. With that said, if we're taking what the anime is presenting to us right now, I really enjoy this episode. I really enjoy Sorrento as a character. And even before reading the manga, I really liked this character, and this was my introduction to the character, and I absolutely love him. He is one of my favorite characters in the entire franchise. And this episode was like the big proof of like how awesome he is. And learning over time and learning, like, the manga and stuff like that, like how all this stuff was treated, and it made me appreciate the character so much more. But as is right now, as presented to me in the anime as is, he's an amazing character, and like just awesome. And it was really cool, and I really do like the fact that, like, it was a really noble sacrifice on Siegfried's part and stuff like that. That where he's just doing this because he's loyal. He knows where his loyalty. He knows where his bread is being buttered. He knows where the butter is being breaded. He knows where the butter is being spread on his God, that sounds horrible. He knows where his place. He knows where his place is. I'm bad with metaphors, as you can tell. Also, too, like, we're recording this in the middle of the afternoon. Like, I had a coffee, so like I'm all over the place when it comes to like my metaphors. But regardless, the point is, like, we get to we like, it's very rare to like, it's like they show some sort of loyalty. They've been showing loyalty to these characters, but it's very rare that's very rare that we see, like for example, a lot of them were kind of blinded by their loyalty. Or a lot of them are blinded by their own ambitions, like Alveric, who wanted to take Hilda's place.
Take over the world.
Exactly. But you have this character is like, no. I want to see this guy's full potential of, like, not just his power, like his fighting power, but also like his heart, and like seeing like where his integrity lies. So it's really cool. That's really cool. We got to see all that from him, and I think that it's sad that, like, there could have been a lot more done with the character, but I do think what they've shown to us, I think is good enough. I do think, like, if they showed any more, I think it would have been a situation where Alveric was like, oh, like, can this guy shut up about being like, this and that and blah blah blah, being noble and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure that would be the situation, but. Again, I wouldn't we wouldn't know. We like, it's already been said and already been written. And I don't think anybody anybody's gonna make accelerating media for Asgard. Or what am I saying? And then I had to stop myself. I was like, wait a minute, Soul of Gold.
But Siegfried does seem to be the most tries to redeem not just himself in a way for not seeing the truth earlier on, but he tries to sort of redeem all of the Asgardian gods that the old were.
Yeah, the God Warriors.
We have Albert that was really has his own motives. Some didn't quite care, but they were just there. But I forget who was what is the big guy called?
Thor.
The one, the first Thor. I think he kind of was the other one that saw maybe something was wrong, but he didn't really get development of this,
Actually,
kind of show like remorse, or not even remorse, just the fact that he knew something was off with Hilda, but he was still loyal. I think Siegfried was the one that really was able to see what was going on with Hilda. Yeah, and somewhat tried to do something about it, because ultimately all of them got duped.
Yeah, because like it seemed like all the God Warriors had their own thing going. Like Hagen was like, okay, look, you're macking my girl, and I want to fight you for it, Hyoga. And then Hyoga's like, I don't know what you're talking about, bro. And then with with Fenrir is like, look, I just want to get respect, man. I want the respect that I was deserved. Sid and Bud were kind of like they were doing their own thing. Mime was like so preoccupied with daddy issues that like at the end of the day like he was not like these thoughts not really processed. So that only leaves two characters at this point, which would be Thor. Thor was kind of like the one who was like, yeah, there is something wrong. There is something wrong, and you can tell like the gears were slowly turning, but at the very end, unfortunately, they had to kill him off. But Siegfried's like, okay, yeah, there is something definitely wrong, and you gotta go down. You gotta go down, pretty boy, with the flute. But we'll learn later that's not happening. But is there any other thoughts, Bekas?
I don't think that no I agree with you that probably we need to focus on exactly what we're seeing rather than okay, obviously there needs to be a comparison because that will give a lot of information as to the execution of both, how one was done and how the other was done. This is in the end like an adaptation of an original source material, but the original source material can do things differently, and so can the anime. And what's presented here, like as I said before, and I think with you and I agree on that part, regardless of the again grievances that there definitely are part of this episode, and that will come back to haunt the series overall in the end. Leaving that aside, the episode in itself was very entertaining, was very fun. All the characters were very well portrayed, and it presented everything that you needed in that episode. It had drama, it had emotional moments. You have an emotional goodbye to Siegfried, who in the end was just trying to be a faithful servant to his kingdom, and discovering that they were being manipulated. You have this guy who, despite the fact that he's obviously the villain in this whole scenario, like he's still suave. Like Sorrento's personality is he's very suave. That's one of the things that I really like about how he's portrayed in the Latin American dub, because the voice that they give him is like very regal, and
yeah,
you can feel that
isn't
in his
it
presence.
isn't it the same voice actor who does the voice of Frieza?
No. The guy that does the voice of Frieza does voice a character in Saint Seiya, but that's later in the Poseidon. That's another Marine general.
Okay, well, because I thought like I could have sworn that he was the one who did it, because like they have that same kind of like that same regalness, like that same era, like I'm better than you.
So Sorrento had two the voice actors in the Latin American dub, technically two official ones, so it's kind of a mess. So let's just say that the one that portrays him here, like he does a very good job, and so does the other one. But like the way that he portrays his regalness was very well done here. I actually was curious how he was portrayed in the English dub.
Oh, he's definitely regal. Yeah, oh yes,
he was actually really good. I don't know if there's one thing I will say about the dub is hit or miss. I'll admit that right now. There is some. Because I'm also judging this from how the voice acting is, and some of the voice acting is spotty, especially here in Asgard. Like I'm not really a big fan of the voice actors they use for Hilda, but it seems like things are starting to like kind of like fall into place a little bit. And when we get to, and Sorrento's voice actor in English is actually really good in my opinion.
Okay.
So, any last thoughts, Jackie?
Farewell, Siegfried. You didn't get to live for too long. And listen to the anime. He was a cute guy.
Yeah.
I thought he was cute. Too bad he had to.
But like I said too, it's yeah, he's cute and all, but also too, he like top 10 like armor designs of all time in this series, in my opinion. One of the few characters I can be like, look, you can rock that full helmet all you want, and that looks fucking badass.
Yeah, no, it is one of the. I just think it was one of the best characters from the arc.
Also, too, if anybody has a spare Siegfried figure from the original figures, or like a Mythcloth they like to get rid of for like on the cheap, call me up, like hit me up on like whatever service that I'm at, I'll buy it off you instantly, like no problem. So yeah, I think that's about it. I think we all kind of unanimously agree on this one. And I'm gonna speak for everybody. If anybody wants to like say no, say it now. But we all kind of really enjoy these episodes. That's the impression I'm getting. Like, despite the problems, despite the weird problems, like it seems like I said, it seems like they're getting their. It seems like they're getting their act together. But it's like it feels a little too late. But I do feel like it's gonna I do feel like they're ending really strong at this point. So do you guys kind of agree on that one, or you guys want to like fight me?
No. Actually, what I wanted to point out was like before when my friend Anna, she was watching the anime for the first time. She was watching it close around the time when they announced that they're gonna remove it from Netflix. So because she was constrained for time, she asked me like, "What do I do? I was about to start Asgard, but then I don't think I'll be able to get to the Poseidon arc." So what I did for her was that, okay, I'm gonna make you a list of a couple episodes to stop by so you can sort of get the connection between Asgard and Poseidon. So I believe I did tell her, like, watch the first episode. I told her watch the one that they show how they repair the bronze claws, and after that, I think most of what I had her watch was the battle of Siegfried.
Mm-hmm.
Not just for the fact that it's how it connects to the Poseidon arc ultimately, but I did think it was probably one of the better battles. That it wasn't dragged out too long, or like Albert pulling out some new attack out of his whatever.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I mean, I can say if you were have to do some skipping around, get like only wanted to watch a few episodes out of Asgard, I do think these were like the better ones of all of it.
All right, then. Any final thoughts on everything in general, Bekas?
No, I agree with you on that last part. Like, despite the fact that it still has a lot of bullshit that needs to be pointed out, as an arc overall in general, I think that the last episodes, even I think since the Mime fight, have probably been for me, even since the Hagen fight, have all been entertaining. With issues, but entertaining and fun to watch, and that's the important part, and that's the most important part at the end of the day for any series. Like, if it's not fun, then what's the point? But if you're having fun watching them, hey, there's nothing wrong with turning your brain off every once in a while. Obviously, I'm not doing that for obvious reasons, but like in general, I've been enjoying it, and it actually has given me a little bit of a new perspective on Asgard that I didn't have before. I kind of got angry with this arc because of all those nuances, and I think I incorrectly kind of even was harsher than I should have been previously. But now that I've been rewatching it, at the very least, even though I have more context now, and I can say that I enjoyed quite a bit, and I'm having fun with it, and I think that also gives me a better perspective for Ballad, but less severe and less rigid, and even there's not so much malice in my criticism anymore. So I think that's a good thing for me.
Yeah, I will agree. I started noticing too. It's like you're like I wouldn't say you're warming up, but you're starting to see like, okay, I see what Toei's trying to do. Like they're back at the wall. They couldn't do anything, so this is at best this is what they can do. And it's also interesting that you're pointing out stuff like that we didn't know, like the stuff like those notes for the character notes as well, because it does add a lot more context as to like what was happening with the characters and stuff like that, and we get to see a lot of that stuff kind of like play out. Like you get to see like, okay, now that we know how this character is, like how they originally intended to be, now that now that we had kind of got the character kind of like going in the actual series, this is what the intention were, and this is what ended up happening. And now that we kind of know what the intentions were with the character, it makes a little bit more sense. So yeah, why don't we wrap it up here for this episode? Because I don't want to keep Ben up for too long. So why don't we go out to Jackie? Jackie, do you have anything you would like to promote?
No, this week, once again, I am working currently on Chapter 2 of Santa Shell Memories. So, we'll be on break for 2 weeks. So, I hope to get it out by then. So,
Right.
And once again, Chapter 1 is available. I retweeted it yesterday too. So if you haven't checked it out, please check it out. And if you want to just talk about it, comments, you're more than welcome to just give me a message, and I'll be happy to discuss everything Santa's show.
And trust me, trust me, I'm pretty sure Jackie would totally love to talk to you about Saint Seiya show. Trust me.
I do.
Because I can tell from your enthusiasm that you want to do this so bad, and you know what? I have an idea for you. I got a totally cool idea we can do, and we'll talk about it off stream later. But Bekas, do you have
Cool.
anything you would like to talk about? Anything you would like to promote before we head out?
For the time being, nothing new. Right now, I'm gonna on a 2 week trip, so I'm actually gonna be out of town. I'll probably be still around around my social media, posting a couple stuff here and there. Probably more on Instagram, like a few photographs and stuff that I can that I'm able to get. But as soon as I return and I actually start work, I have some projects in the works. Just a matter of actually concreting it. But I'd like to give them a shout once they're a bit more ready to actually be given to the public. So for the time being, I'm good, and I'll be in touch. Though I'll probably be not as present as I usually tend to be.
All right, sound good. As for me, I have a lot of projects myself. Of course, I got this podcast. You can find this podcast at www.sccosmocast.com. Again, the address is www.sccosmocast.com. You can listen to all our episodes there. You can learn a little bit more about our host, and you can subscribe to like all of our social. You can subscribe to us on all major podcasting services. You can find the link right there on our link. But if you have Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, you can find us on all those services, and you can give us a listen. Please give us a listen. Please give us a follow. Give us a 5-star review. It gets us out of algorithm hell. I've been noticing a lot more. I'm noticing so much more people giving 5-star reviews on Apple Podcast and on Spotify. We're getting out of that algorithm hell really, really well. I'm really happy about that. Thank you so much for those who've been doing that. Really do appreciate that. I also do live streams. I play video games. I watch old TV shows. I've been watching a lot of old Nintendo Mania, but I've been taking a break from it these last couple of weeks because I've been doing a fellow streamer. Her name is Dot Level. She has a challenge to she's been challenging a lot of streamers to do play a lot of old Castlevania games. So I've been playing a lot of old Castlevania games. I got 4 games done. I got four games done, but I still got a lot more. I got a lot more to go. So, but but the last one I did was Castlevania Bloodlines, and that was my favorite one to do. That was my favorite one. I think that's my favorite. I learned to appreciate that game so much, and I'm really happy I got that run done. It was really fun to do that run. And also too, I host another podcast. The Saturday Morning Squadron. Last episode was our extended discussion about toys, because we had one episode where we just talked about toys, but we realized we went too long because we were talking about the Nintendo Direct and also the state of play, and we went up talking half an hour about Final Fantasy VII, which I'm not a fan of Final Fantasy VII, but that was a really fun discussion to have. So, but we are hammering details. I think we're gonna have an episode Friday, which I think we're gonna be talking about horror video games, because it's the season to talk about horror stuff. And one last thing, if you're watching us on Twitch, I want to give a huge shout out to Muriel Kawai. She made my PNG tuber. She made my PNG tuber exclusively for the season, where I'm dressed up as Persona 5 Futaba Sakura Futaba, the hacker extraordinaire. She did an incredible job making the design, and it looks fantastic. So if you got time to check that design out, it's on my Twitter, it's on my social medias. But I highly encourage you to check out Muriel Kawai. She's the one who drew it, and she did an incredible job. And I'm on my knees here. Get something from her. She's an amazing artist, and she's a total sweetheart. And I want everybody to get at least something, get a commission from her, get some work done, get your work done from her, because she busts her chops off, and she really deserves all the love and all the stuff that she does for artwork wise, and just being a cool Saint Seiya fan in general.
Muriel is the MVP. She's the best.
Yeah, she's I cannot stress this enough that she did an incredible job with this design, and doing anything she puts her heart into, she gives it 1001%, and she is just amazing. She's just an amazing Saint Seiya. Like I said, she's not just an amazing Saint Seiya fan, but she's also an amazing artist, and she just deserves all the love. But that said,
that she does.
with all that said, guys, thank you all so much for listening. I'm Ramsey, says Jackie, that is Bencast. We'll be back in 2 weeks if you're listening to the podcast, but we'll be back in 3-ish weeks if you're listening to us on Twitch. Bencast, hope you have a good trip.
Thank you.
And
Safe travels, Bencast. Enjoy, have fun. Take lots of pictures.
Of course.
And also to a couple of last things. Keep bringing that cosmos, everybody. We'll keep in touch. I'll see y'all next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.